Welcome to Trading the Close on this Wednesday. I'm Toni Valliere with Verified Investing. And here's what's making headlines today. New York Community Bank names new chairman after Moody's downgrades the bank's credit rating to junk. The stock initially shed nearly 60% of its value over the past 8 days. We're going to take a look at where it stands in just a moment with Gareth. Now, shares of Snap plummet after the company announced fourth quarter revenue that missed expectations. The company is struggling with gaining advertising dollars amid competitors like Meta and Google. Uber's revenue beat expectations for the fourth quarter and was up 15% from the same quarter the year before. Well, the way you watch sports is about to change thanks to Disney, ESPN, Fox, and Warner Brothers. Now, the three companies are looking to join forces and launch an all-in-one streaming service this fall. Chipotle stock rises after a better-than-expected earnings report just ahead of what the company has coined burrito season, which, if you're wondering, it starts in March. Let's take a look now at where things stand with the markets just minutes before the closing bell. We've got more green today than yesterday. The Dow up 169 points, almost 0.5%. We've got the NASDAQ up 153 points, almost 1%. The S&P 500 is up 40 points. Oil is up, gold slightly down, and then we've got Bitcoin up $1,046. Let's bring in Chief Market Strategist Gareth Soloway with a recap of today's trading. Any big takeaways, any surprises today?
Yeah, so today was one of those days where it was risk on. We saw, again, a little bit of pullback in the U.S. dollar, helping generate some upside. We saw good earnings from a couple of companies as well. Yeah. And what we can see here is that, for the most part, it was a very quiet day. And in fact, this is becoming a theme. It's like you get this upside early in the day, and then this market just kind of goes sideways in this tight range the rest of the day. There's not a lot of volume, which tells us the big traders, the big institutions are not participating. They're not buying, but they're also not selling. So they're just sitting on the sidelines, letting the smaller retail players continue to kind of pile in this market, which is a little concerning, right? You want to see bigger players jumping in. Yeah. Now, a couple things to just go over here. If we go to the daily chart of the S&P, first of all, the high of the day was 4999.89. So literally we came within 0.11 from 5,000. I still have said, and we even talked about this like 2 weeks ago, that you get close enough to a key even number. It's like a magnet. It draws price up to it. So you want to pierce that. There'll be a lot of stops just above 5,000 that probably need to be run. Then we'll see if the market kind of pulls back at that point. So I do still expect us to go there. We did pull back a little into the close to 4993, so about 7 to 6 points off of that high. Notice the channel on the daily S&P, so we are at the upper range as well. A couple other key takeaways from today is that we saw NVIDIA hitting the key even number of 700. So again, these even numbers are amazingly important. The kicker here on NVIDIA is if we flip over to the weekly chart, I want to just zoom out and show this is that longer term trend line. And now that we've hit this even number, this is really where I want to see, does NVIDIA continue to have strength through 700 and continue to push above? Because look at this trend line, really amazing. It goes back to 2020, this little pivot top here, then connects through this exact high in 2021, and that's exactly where we are right here. So again, by the way, look at this weekly candle move. I mean, that is an incredible move. We're not talking about a $100 billion company. We're talking about a $1 trillion+ company that basically is up 40+% just since the start of the year. That again, I mean, I was around in the dot-coms. The companies were not this big back then. I mean, you had moves, but it was like on a $50 billion company, not a $1.5 trillion company. Yeah. So it is a little insane. It does remind me a little bit of the dot-com era with the hysteria jumping into some of these names. But again, it'll go as long as it wants to go until it collapses. But I do want people to understand there will be a reckoning day in some of these names. All right, a couple other things to just go over real quick. The KRE, you brought up the banks. One of the positives for today is that the KRE, which is the banking ETF, it's the regional banks, it was getting crushed early. It did come back. It closing just slightly negative, but it's good to see that buyers are coming in here on this chart. And if we go to that, I think it was NYCB. Let me bring that chart up here. we can see that that actually had a really nice reversal, forming a bottoming tail on the chart. So bottoming tail is a potential reversal signal. Now, I do want to caveat, normally I'd be really excited about a bottoming tail, but I've been burned in bank stocks before, like back in last March, where I picked up one that was down massively, thinking, oh, this could bounce 50, 100%, and then it was halted and it opened at like pennies on the dollar. So I'm always, with banks,
Very
when it
leery.
comes, I'm very leery because I got burned that way before, and I want to just be real careful. But again, per just technicals, that is a bottoming tail on the charts. And then obviously, should we touch base on Bitcoin? God forbid we don't.
I think we should. We need to, because that's what my next guest will be talking about regarding life insurance.
Ooh.
You heard correctly. Yes.
That is really interesting.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to hear about that. So we've talked about this trend line, right? So fascinating trend line here on Bitcoin. I've said that this is the line in the sand. We either can get above this. If we do, we can go up and retest the $49,000 high. But if we can't, then eventually you see 38,000 again, 38.5 down here. It's trying. You have to give it credit. At least it's trying. At least the buyers are trying to come out here. We're right at this 44,000 area here. I want to see a daily close above 44 here, and then we want to see another day where it stays above and doesn't get flushed back down. If that happens, I think the bulls start to take over. They gain confidence. The bears start to worry, and you can see a pop up here. But really, at this point, we're right on the cusp of that level. We'll watch to see where that goes in the next 24 hours.
All right, Gareth, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Remember, you can watch Gareth every weekday morning before the opening bell on his show, The Game Plan, that airs at 9 a.m. right here on the Verified YouTube channel. My other special guest today is Danny Baer, the Director of Wealth and Asset Management at Meanwhile. Meanwhile is the first life insurance provider operating entirely in Bitcoin. You heard that correctly. They also offer the first Bitcoin private credit fund. So Danny, welcome to Trading the Close. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Tony, and thank you to Gareth for priming us up for this conversation. I'm looking forward to it.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, so Meanwhile offers traditional insurance services such as underwriting, claims, reserving, but all denominated in Bitcoin. Explain how this works and exactly who this type of policy would be best for.
That's right, Tony. So we are the world's first and only licensed and regulated life insurance company that is fully denominated in a digital asset. So we have a company in Bermuda. It's licensed and regulated by the Bermuda Monetary Authority, who's an internationally acclaimed life insurance regulator. And you can think of it as the functional currency of that company is Bitcoin. So its balance sheet holds only Bitcoin. Its audited financials are stated in Bitcoin. And all of the insurance math that goes into running an insurance company is done in Bitcoin. And what that allows us to do is sell insurance policies by which our policyholders pay their premiums in Bitcoin over the course of their life. If they want to tap into the liquidity of their whole life policy, they can take out a policy loan in Bitcoin. And when they die, we pay out their claim or their death benefit to their beneficiaries in Bitcoin. And now it's key because any life insurance company has to build for the long term. We have sold policies that will outlive anyone that works at our company currently. And so we can't get bogged down in the day-to-day price volatility of Bitcoin. We need to be able to focus on the long term. And because all of our assets and our liabilities are matched in Bitcoin, to us, one Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin. One Bitcoin does not equal 43,000 or 65,000 or 16,000 as we've seen over the last 2 years, because our assets and liabilities are matched in the asset.
Okay, so how does this compare to traditional life insurance? Meaning, what are the benefits of Meanwhile's policy over traditional insurance, and what are the risks?
Yeah, it's a great question. So what we've done is we've basically taken the most basic whole life insurance policy that you can think of, and we basically just switched the word dollars to Bitcoin. And it has all of the same benefits as a traditional whole life policy has. You put in some number of Bitcoin in premiums. We guarantee you some number higher in your death benefit. There's a policy value that grows over time, and those returns compound tax-free because it's in a life insurance policy. But those returns for us are denominated in Bitcoin. And then in whole life insurance, there is this concept of tax advantaged policy loans where people can tap into that balance of their policy for liquidity during their lifetime. But because our policies are in Bitcoin, those loans are in Bitcoin. So they get tax advantaged liquidity when they pull a Bitcoin out of their policy at some point in the future. So you'd asked previously who our kind of core customer profile is.
Yeah.
And I would say that we have a mixed bag. There are people who have made their money in crypto and are looking for just things to do with it, real financial product that helps them plan for the long term and help plan for their family's future. And we're building a life insurance company to allow them to do that. And then there's another group of people who are, I would say, otherwise wealthy, but have bought Bitcoin because they just don't want to miss out on the ride. But it's not a major part of their balance sheet. And those people tend to really understand life insurance as a planning tool because they're using it in the traditional sense. And this is just a way for them to once again put that Bitcoin that they bought to work through a product or an offering that they understand.
So that leads into my next question. How has this service been received so far? About how many members would you say that you have signed up with a life insurance policy?
Yeah, so the company was founded 2 years ago by our brilliant co-founders, Zach Townsend and Max Gassner. 2022 is the year of jumping through the regulatory hoops and hurdles to get licensed and regulated. You can imagine the initial reaction when we went to the regulator and said, hey, we want to start the most basic conservative life insurance company that you regulate. But, oh, by the way, it's going to all be in Bitcoin instead of dollars or Swiss francs or yen or euros or whatever other fiat currency. So we founded the company was founded in January 22. It wasn't until December 30th of that same year that we finally got the license. So it was a full year of working with regulators to do that. 2023 was really all about product design, getting our tech infrastructure built out and in place to be able to service a life insurance company with a small team. And so we finally got to the point where we bound our first policy in November of last year, but we publicly announced our existence over the summer. And so on our website, there's a wait list that people starting in the summer went to and started to sign up for. And we're now working our way through that kind of queue of people to bind policies for those people. So we've just only begun binding policies, and we're probably in the dozens of bound policies, but we have hundreds of people on the wait list that we're working our way through. And it's such a nuanced thing that we actually and our founder and CEO, Zach Townsend, try to speak with every single person that buys a policy to make sure that all of their questions are answered before they get into this. Because there are uncomfortable things for Bitcoiners when you get into something where you have to trust a counterparty or a third party with your coins. So we want to make sure that we can put faces to the product. We can talk to people, address any questions that they have. And we don't want anyone buying a policy until they get to a point where they're fully comfortable doing so.
Well, exactly. In fact, I know a lot of people do have concerns that Bitcoin can easily be stolen. So what kind of protection does Meanwhile offer for these insurance plans?
Yeah, so we are, like I said, we're fully licensed and regulated. So we have full oversight of the Bermuda Monetary Authority. We have an independent board that oversees our operations. We have a full enterprise risk management framework. We've really tried to, well, as I said, when you build a life insurance company, you have to build for the long term. So we went through the pains of a full year's worth of regulatory hoops and hurdles to get to a point where we could say we're licensed and regulated. Bermuda is a world leader in insurance regulation. So those are the types of things that we've done. Now, not everyone will be comfortable with that, and we appreciate that and respect that. So if the policy is not for you, it's not for you. But I think that there are folks out there who can overcome the uneasiness of having to trust a third party, especially if that third party is licensed and regulated, because the tax advantages are pretty incredible for life insurance. And then when the underlying asset or currency of that life insurance policy is something that has the potential to appreciate like Bitcoin does, those same benefits just really get amplified.
So Gareth showed us the chart of where Bitcoin is right now. Are you happy where it's at right now? And what's your outlook on 2024 for Bitcoin? Yeah,
it's the $1 million question. I think that from our perspective, like I said, we think about Bitcoin in terms of decades, not just what the price will be tomorrow or next month or even next year. I think that The run up in the price pre-ETF approval was exciting. Clearly, we want the price of Bitcoin to be worth more in the future than it is today because it will lead to more adoption or widespread adoption. But for us, we've operated this company when Bitcoin was at 16,000 a coin. We've operated when it was at $60,000 a coin, and we everywhere in between. So that from our perspective, our day-to-day operations aren't impacted by the price. But we do want it to go up. And I think that as Gareth kind of outlined, there's this path here that the chart suggests. I think that we'll probably see continued chop sideways within that bound leading into the halving in April. And after the halving in April, I think that the market will react up or down just to suss out the impact of the halving on the mining sector, on those with levered positions. But then our outlook for Q3 and 4 of 2024, like any other cycle in the history of Bitcoin, is that we will see the commencement of the next big bull run. So near term, there may be chop, but I think if you look out towards the second half of this year, we're looking forward to a significant upward movement.
It's like religion. That's what I compare it to. You know, everyone's so passionate about it, and you've got to keep the faith. I imagine, meanwhile, believes that Bitcoin will ultimately become mainstream. You all are certainly paving the way. So what do you think it will take for that to happen, and how soon do you think that could happen?
Yeah, we're building this company. It's a financial services company for the Bitcoin economy. So we believe that at some point in the future, if it's 2 years or 5 years or 10 years, there will be a robust global decentralized economy denominated in Bitcoin. And for an economy to exist, there need to be capital markets, there need to be financial products, there needs to be real velocity of the underlying currency for the economy to exist. And if you look at developed global economies, somewhere between 2 and 3% of those economies' GDP is life insurance premiums. So we are building the life insurance company for that global decentralized Bitcoin economy.
So what else does Meanwhile have planned to offer in the future, and will it involve AI? You have Sam Altman as one of your biggest investors, or would it even include other cryptocurrencies?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I think that we've started with this life insurance company, and that's core focus, but any life insurance company has to also become an asset manager. You need to take in the premiums of your customers and invest those alongside the balance sheet of the insurance company to be able to meet your long-term obligations or liabilities. And so we actually have, as you noted from the outset, we have a private credit fund that we're raising that is fully denominated in Bitcoin, where we're essentially taking the strategy that we've operated or deployed in the insurance company for the last 2 years, and we're going to do that for outside LP capital. Now, over the last 2 years, it's been an incredibly volatile time in Bitcoin, and especially for crypto lenders. Most crypto lenders that anyone's ever heard of have gone bankrupt. We've operated our strategy for the last 2 years and have taken on zero credit losses. So people who have followed us from day one, or who have invested in us, or who have bought policies from us, have looked at us and said, hey, clearly you're something different. We're building a boring, conservative, duration-focused operation, and they've asked us if we would be willing to deploy our strategy for outside LP capital. So we are launching that fund, and I think there in the future will be more funds as we build out those offerings. To your question about other cryptocurrencies, I've said it before, we think about things in terms of decades, and we are confident that Bitcoin will exist and have staying power in 10, 50, 100 years. And until we have that level of conviction that another token or layer 1 or layer 2 has that staying power, we're going to stick to Bitcoin. But that's not to say that we couldn't start an ETH company or a Solana company or something like that. It's just we don't have the level of conviction that they'll exist or be the dominant players they are today in 20 or 50 or 100 years. And I think to your last question about AI, yes, Sam Altman was one of our very first checks. We've raised a little over $20 million of seed capital. We're lucky enough to have Sam on our cap table. And I think that we absolutely will utilize AI from an operations perspective. We have no aspirations to be a 15,000 person insurance company like you see a lot of these legacy companies are. And we can use AI to automate the underwriting processes that otherwise would be very labor intensive.
Danny, where can our viewers go to find out more about Meanwhile?
Yeah, so our website is meanwhile.bm. Our Twitter page or profile is at Meanwhile Life. And then, you can find me through Twitter or LinkedIn or anything like that. But I would advise people, if you want to learn more, go find your way to the website. If you do want to sign up for the waitlist, I will personally have a conversation with anyone who's interested in learning more. And I'm happy and excited to have the opportunity to talk to them about it.
That's so awesome. And you were phenomenal. I appreciated having you on, and you kept it so simple for a topic that really is somewhat complex for many of us. Obviously, you say you work with your customers one-on-one so that they are very clear on what they are investing in. So I would love to have you back again. I will be in touch. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Tony. It was a pleasure, and thanks for having me on.
Try and stay warm, buddy. I know you're in Chicago as well.
Yeah, I'll do my best.
And thank you for watching Trading the Close. We will be back tomorrow, so make it a great rest of the day.